Hey there, it's Ms. Andrews, and today I wanted to talk to you about comparing numbers and comparing big numbers. And as the older you get and the higher grades you get in, you're going to be comparing bigger numbers. So when you were in third grade, for example, you may have been comparing numbers in the hundreds, maybe the thousands. And now, as you're working in fourth grade, you're comparing numbers in the thousands and 10,000s and 100,000s and millions. And that'll keep going. When you're in fifth grade, you're going to be comparing numbers in the billions. So for today, we're going to take a look at some really big numbers and compare them. And when you think about big numbers, when do we use them? Stop for a minute, just pause the video and just jot yourself a little note. When might you compare numbers that are in the 100,000? So you can see here that we've got two different numbers, both of which are in the 100,000. So just stop, and if you're with a friend, just have a little conversation about that. All right, so I know many people think about big numbers for money as money. It might be that somebody's earning money and they need to compare their earnings to someone else's, or you might be making a really big purchase, such as a home or a car, and sometimes those numbers get really big. And in fact, in fourth grade, one of the things that we look at are different populations of different places. And that's another time when your numbers are going to get really big. So for towns, you might have numbers in the 100,000s, or cities, you might have numbers in the 100,000s, and eventually be moving up into the millions when you're thinking about really big cities and states, for example, and countries. So we have these two numbers, and the first thing I'm going to do is, because we want to be comparing them, is I'm going to be looking at this number. We'll start with this one. And I'm going to break it up using a place value chart. And I can't stress the importance of just drawing yourself a place value chart. When you're comparing numbers, it really helps, rather than just looking at them. Because when you're looking at numbers, it often gets confusing and you might mix up the values of the different digits. So I'm going to get you started. And then what I would like for you to do is pause the video. So make sure you've got your paper, make sure you've got a pencil. And I'm going to ask you to do the same thing in a minute on your own independently using this number. So watch what I do here carefully. I've got this number and I'm going to read it to myself. 653,000. I know it's in the thousands because that's this family right here next to the ones. 653,208. And I'm going to copy this number into my place value chart. So go ahead and you can do that too if you know how to do that. So I'm going to start with my ones place, and I'm going to put 8. There are no tens, but you never want to leave that blank because you need a placeholder. So I'm going to put that 0. 2, put a comma there, just to get in that habit. 3, 5, and 6. So I've copied that number in, and I notice that there are 600,000s, 550,000s, 3,000s, 200s, 0 tens, and 8 ones. So go ahead now and copy that number in, and copy this next number in with your place value chart. So start with the 8, 0, 2. I'm going to stop there for a minute, because what I'm noticing is that they actually have the same place value up until this point. We've got 8s in the ones, 0s in the tens, no 0. So far my number, 208, is the same, 208. So I'm going to keep going, and now I've got my 5. Okay, and suddenly something just happened. My value went up. The value of this number went up because in this number here, there's a 3. So right now, I am thinking that this number is greater than this number. All right, I'm going to keep going, though, because I'm not done. Got my 5, 3. Okay, as you can see, I'm going to compare each and every place value spot. And something just happened. I noticed that the 3 is smaller than the 5, and the value of that 3, even though the digit is smaller than a 5, the value of that 3 is bigger because it's 30,000 versus this digit here, which is 5, and that 5 is 5,000. This digit here represents 50,000. So 50,000, even though that 3 is smaller than the 5 in the thousands place, the value of the number right now is larger with this number because it's 53,208 versus this one, which is 35,208. But I'm going to keep going because in my hundred thousands, depending on where it is, it could be a 7. It could be a larger number than that. So I'm going to go over and I notice, aha, it's a 6. It's the same. So when I'm looking at it, I know that my higher place value spot, that 10,000 spot, is going to increase the number by quite a bit here on this one. In fact, it's going to be 20,000 greater in that spot. So now I'm going to use my symbols. 653,208 is greater than, so I'm going to make the greater sign, 635,208. So as you're comparing big numbers, I recommend that you always use a place value chart, get it out, create one if you don't have one, and fill in the digits and systematically, place by place, do an analysis of each number and the value of each number.